I think I can see that people are joining, and more people are joining now. But I think we can start our today's webinar. And today's webinar is all about investing in Cyprus and obtaining citizenship and residency through investment. And we will tell you more about how we can help during this process, and what are the benefits, what are the unique benefits for being a resident in Cyprus, or the benefits of investing in Cyprus, whether it's the real estate options or other investment opportunities, and you have also, we'll talk about more about the citizenship as well, and what are the benefits of Cyprus citizenship. And today we have our guest speaker, Andrea. She's also she's now in Cyprus currently. I'm calling from London, and it's nice weather today in London. And our head office in London, and our representative office in Cyprus. And Andrea, she will be also joining us from Cyprus during today's webinar. So, and of course, it will give you, and we would like to make this webinar as more interactive during the webinar. And at the end of the presentation, we'll have the Q&A sessions, like question and answer session. So we'll be more than happy to address all the questions and answer to questions during that. So let me introduce myself. I'm Muzaffar. I'm the head of business development at Califas Law, and we specialize via investment program. And if you're interested in UK citizenship, of course, we can assist. We've been helping our clients for more than 5 years now. And of course, today is not about the UK citizenship. Today is all about the Cyprus residency and citizenship. And I believe you will receive valuable information during today's webinar. Let me introduce myself. I'm coming from project financing background myself. I used to work for the project financing department of the Central Asian Bank, and currently also working in the UK. I've initiated Sharia funds, which was one of the successful funds in the UK. This is just a brief about myself. As I said, we've specialized in UK citizenship plus the second citizenship, whether you would like to invest and get a residence in Cyprus. So Andrea, my colleague, is Andrea Petro. She's also with us. So I'm just going to give a quick hello to her. So she's a senior immigration lawyer and partner from GICG. So
hi Andrea. So hopefully Andrea can join us. Just a quick say hello. Hi Andrea, can you hear me well? Okay, fine. So I think Andrea will be joining during the stage, but again, so just want to make sure that she has a good connection there. Hi Andrea, can you hear me well? Yeah, I can. She's joining. Hi Andrea. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi Andrea. Okay, brilliant. So just quickly introduce yourself, so we can actually then I can move to and start the presentation. Andrea Petro, she's a senior immigration lawyer. She's currently in Cyprus, and she will be also having, telling more about the steps on how to obtain the resident citizenship, and obviously she will be happy to answer to your questions.
Yes. First, I would like to welcome you all as well, and let's the webinar start.
Okay, excellent. So thank you, Andrea. So great.
Today's agenda is the Buy Invest in Cyprus, or the individual investor program, so Cyprus citizenship, buy investment, and residency and visa program of Cyprus residency. So we'll talk about the tax benefits And as I said, we'll have Q&A sessions, question and answer sections at the end of the seminar. So so about our firm, Canfield Law is, we're based in London, we're based in Swiss Cottage. If you are in London, please let us know. I'll be more than happy to meet you in person. We specialize in a range of issues, and immigration is considered as by the company's major practice. And Canfield Law has granted LXL accreditation. LXL accreditation is given to top managed law firms in the UK and is the member of Law Society. So CICG, our partner is Cyprus. Together we assist you with obtaining residence and citizenship in Cyprus. The brief about, we're going to touch base why invest in Cyprus and what attracts about the Cyprus. If you're looking to invest in overseas but not sure on the country, I believe Cyprus could be a lucrative location for you to invest in, and I would say here's the reason why. Well, in recent years, Cyprus has become increasingly popular to overseas investors. Property investors especially are reaping the benefits of the island with buy-to-let property investments amounting to more than 25% of all property sales. So location has also been a key factor that is increasingly enticing investors. So because of this unique location, Cyprus has been a vital hub for trade for thousands of years. After it was hit by 2013 financial crisis, of course, Cyprus has become and is a popular investment location for foreign investors wishing to expand their existing operations. This is because of the attractive benefits given to foreign investors. Its location, as I said, its qualified labor force, and along with its reliable transport and communications substructure. So the country continues to be attractive year on year, not just for overseas businesses, but also for expatriates, with a rising number of British, lots of Russian investors and Chinese expats calling the island their home. So I believe also the presence of Chinese and Russian investors has played a significant role in the economic recovery of the country, with industries as the construction reaping the benefits of the increasing demand for housing. And foreign investors have influenced the economy in such a way that they are specifically targeted by the real estate industry and by the Cypriot government. So in an attempt to incentivize more foreign investment, the Cypriot government has introduced a citizenship scheme where investors can obtain Cypriot citizenship by investing 2 million euros. So in below, I'll go into more details to why Cyprus is becoming increasingly popular to foreign investors. And number one is that Cyprus is a member of the EU, like it's a member of European Union. And Cyprus joined the European Union, as you know, in 2004, and later joined the Eurozone in 2008. So the island has been after the crisis has been in the road of recovery, and the country continues to draw in foreign investors, and as well as a very touristic destination. And also it has a very good business friendly tax rates. Let me just go through go through the slides here. So as I said, it's a member of EU, and it stands EU member as part of Eurozone, joined in 2008. United Nations, Council of Europe, Commonwealth, World Bank, IMF, this is all membership of Cyprus. And also high standard for education, highest education attainment rate in EU is actually stands as second, and the fifth highest GDP spend on education in the EU. So 35% of foreign students, 8 universities, 28 English schools, 5% direct GDP contribution. So if you are willing to reside in Cyprus and choose as a destination to live and educate your children at schools, these are statistics that will help. International rankings, I would say first safest countries in the world, 2015, and the fourth highest higher education and training out of 144 countries. So it's the fourth higher education and training out of 144. It's a very good statistics. Fifth best relocation destination by Knight Frank Lifestyle Review, and the 19th Index of Economic Freedom, and 31st fourth best countries for business index 2015. So business rate is quite attractive here in Cyprus. And Cyprus presents a powerful business proposition. I mean, it has a modern banking and legal system. As I said, it's EU member, pro-business government, highly skilled English-speaking workforce, and excellent infrastructure in terms of the transportation, doing the business, flights. As I said, like in terms of the, there is regular flights from connecting literally anywhere in the world, and safe country, very safe in terms of the cosmopolitan lifestyle, and has advantages EU approved tax regime, which I'm going to tell you more briefly about during this presentation, and a stable political and business environment that makes Cyprus a very good, attractive destination for anyone who would like to invest. Safety, I mentioned about safety. So the safest country in the world in the category of smaller countries, and in Cyprus, extremely low crime rate offers both comfort and peace for mind. So the fifth safest place in the world. It's also, this statistics gives you a quite advantage to comparing to other countries. If you are looking for place where you are, safest, having a safest ratings is, I think, is very important to anyone. Either you want to do this, or if you wanted to relocate in Cyprus in future. So economy. Cyprus is a modern country with a progressive free market service-based economy. You can see here GDP was 17.9 billion. So the largest is services, 81%, and light industry is 15%, and agriculture is 2.4%. So GDP growth rates, you can see it's quite also good. It's 3 to 6%. And natural gas, by the way, Cyprus has huge oil and gas in its exclusive economic zone. Oil resources, you can see the statistic is 3.4 billion oil resources and 4.54 tons of cubic of natural gas. So that's all a good statistics about Cyprus. So just want to go back to the slides, and solid track record, 250 projects delivered, properties delivered. Basically, if you're looking for investment in real estate, that Cyprus provides the get good road where you need to you invest in the properties and your benefits of as an investor, because real estate is considered as a much lower risk investment. Private schools offer a well-balanced education based in one on English national curriculum, and it has as a very beautiful places to live. As I said, business-friendly tax rates. This is one of the most compelling reasons why foreign investors choose Cyprus to expand their business operations, because the island has one of the most attractive tax systems in the world, with a corporate tax rate of 12.5%. And along with the low corporate tax rate, startup and operational costs, the Cypriot government has and maintain business-friendly legislations. I mentioned about the infrastructure. Another reason why Cyprus is becoming an attractive base for many foreign investors is the benefit of the country's reliable and improving infrastructure. So just let me also scroll down the slides here on the just before going to the site, like moving to the Cyprus residency, EU residency program, I would like to just move to the further slides here to make sure we didn't miss any statistics there. So comprehensive services. I mean, if you choose the, real estate options, of course, what we help is and developing. We have wide range of large database of developers, so you can have a selection of properties of real estate, and which will provide you a full service, whether it's a property management. If you wanted to rent it out, we can provide, and our partners can assist you for as a kind of one-stop shop solution with helping with sales of property or cleaning, landscaping, gardening, repairs and maintenance. That's property management is also taken care of under our program, and that's obviously, it's a good benefit for anyone who would like to have that as an option. I mean, real estate option. So location, location, location. As I said, it's quite. It's a junction to Europe, Asia, and Africa. If you're looking for global trade opportunities, Cyprus offers that. And place to live and as well as to work, the island offers a fantastic working and living environment with arts, culture, as well as cuisine, having a long tradition on the island, which allows for the perfect work life balance. So, as I said, the safety side, Cyprus might be a fantastic location for foreign investors and provides many pro-business perks. However, the country still takes the advantage of its low stress, slower pace of life, and all year round sunshine. I think that's our major, I would say, factors of why to choose Cyprus. And let me also invite here my colleague.
So she can actually tell you more about the residency and citizenship program. So, and please be introduced to our audience again, and if you can tell our audience about the actual residency and citizenship program. Thank you.
Yes. Hello. Starting, I would like to mention first of all that both programs, residency and citizenship program, are structured, well managed, and competitive. And most importantly, they do a permanent solution. We believe that any solution with conditions is like a visa on a table. So this is very important for our clients. Well, starting for Cyprus permanent residency. Let me find the slides. Okay. Okay, so the residency program of Cyprus, it's, as I mentioned before, very competitive, and it's the only EU, Cyprus is the only EU country which offers permanent residency without conditions to the investors. Well, the benefits of the residency program, it's that it can be issued in just 2 months' time, which is it's very fast, and it can be a route for investors to become EU citizens in 7 years. Of course, they should reside in Cyprus for 7 continuous years in case to become citizens. There is only a requirement after they got the residency. There is only a requirement to visit the island 1 day every 2 years. Of course, the first year they need to come once, and then they can come once every 2 years. The process is open for all nationalities, and there are no tax consequences, and the approval rate is 100%. Along with the main applicant, the spouse and financial independent children of the main applicant can also get the permanent residency status in Cyprus. For children, they're supposed to be minor children or financially independent children up to the age of 18 years old or between 18 and 25, provided that they are unmarried students in an institution of tertiary education abroad with at least 6 months of remaining study period from the day of the submission of the application. financially independent unmarried students who wish to study in an institution of tertiary education in Cyprus have to submit through the institution an application for the acquisition of a temporary residence permit as students according to the provision of the relevant legislation, and then after they complete their studies they are able to apply for the citizenship. Also, the parents and the parents-in-law of the main applicant can be granted the permanent residency status. The investment in Cyprus for getting the residence should be 300,000 plus VAT, of course, if it is applicable. The purchase of the estate should be sold for the first time in Cyprus in order to go through the fast track procedure for getting the residency.
Andrea, sorry, can I ask you to maybe just your video? It seems like, can you just switch on the video as well? That would be great.
Okay. Okay, can you see me now? Hello?
No, not yet. So maybe you just need to click on the video button there.
Yes, I'm trying, but
if not, then just please carry on. That's fine.
Okay. So the procedure is basically the investor comes to Cyprus, he chooses where company the client to see the options he has in Cyprus according to his needs, and we basically see the needs of the client and see if he will actually move to Cyprus, if he's looking for a holiday home, if he's looking for multiple properties, and etc. And then once he chooses the ideal property in Cyprus, and we complete the legal work. So we make all the checks for the developer, the seller, for the property. We check the title deeds. We see if there are any encumbrances or mortgages burdening the property, and we secure all the licenses from the government to check that everything is completed and submitted according to the law. And once everything is once we have the full set of the documents needed, we draft the contract of sale. We include fair terms for the safety of the client, and then the client transfers the funds in Cyprus. And there is a condition, this is important to be mentioned, that besides the value of the property is 300,000, the client can pay 200,000 in order to be eligible to submit his application for residency, and he can transfer the rest of the amount at a later stage, because most of the properties that the clients are purchasing in Cyprus are under construction, so there are new properties. And normally we include terms in the contract of sale that once some certain stages in the construction are completed, then the purchaser release the rest of the amount. Anyway, once the purchasing property stage is completed, the client sends the documents needed for the acquisition of residency, which we can see here in this slide, is the contract of sale, annual income of minimum of 30,000 plus 5,000 per dependent and 8,000 per dependent parent. Also, the main applicant should have a fixed deposit with the Cyprus bank, which we help him to open. Actually, we help him open an account in Cyprus and block, let's say, 30,000 for a period of 3 years, which is a requirement. Then the rest of the documents is just the marriage certificate, birth certificate for the children, or relationship documents proving the relationship with the dependent parents, and health insurance policy, which is just a standard, very simple insurance that we do in Cyprus. Now moving in the citizenship, Cyprus citizenship by investment. Okay, so the revised scheme for naturalization of non-Cypriot investors by exception was introduced by Cyprus Council of Ministers in 2016. The Cypriot citizenship by investment program is one of the most popular citizenship by investment programs in the world. Let me find the slide. It is addressed basically to high net worth individuals of good reputation, and indeed it is the most simple and efficient vehicle to obtain the European citizenship. By acquiring Cypriot citizenship, an investor gets visa-free access to 151 countries or visa on arrival. Approval is issued 3 months from the day of the submission of the application for citizenship, which is really very fast, and there is no physical residency requirement, either during the examination period or after the acquisition of the citizenship. There is also no donation required. It is a pure investment with an exit strategy 3 years after the naturalization date. By saying exit strategy, we mean that 3 years after the investment is completed and the investor gets the citizenship, he can actually sell 1.5 out of the 2 million investment and keep a residence for 5 million. The scheme for exceptional naturalization of investors offer different investment options, the predominant of which is the individuals' investment in residential real estate, since in such case, Cypriot citizenship can be obtained by a total investment of 2 million only. Okay, 2 million only. The investment of 2 million plus VAT, if this is applicable, must be retained for at least 3 years since the naturalization date, as I mentioned before. And according to the scheme, the investor must have a clean criminal record, must have at least one of the residential units should worth 500,000 plus VAT if applicable, the possession of which should be retained for life, and residence permit must be held for a 6-month period prior to the investor naturalization in Cyprus. Okay. In order for an investor to apply for Cypriot citizenship, he needs to firstly select the ideal property in Cyprus as in the same as in residency, and complete the investment in residential real estate. Once the property is selected, we examine it again, the title deeds of the property. Again, we complete the due diligence checks. We secure a search issued from the land registering department with regards to any hindrances that may burden the property. So we advise the prospective purchaser how he should proceed for his safety, as I mentioned before. And we then draft again the sale agreement and the rest of the legal documents needed, in which we insert fair terms and conditions for the protection and interest of the investor. When the sale agreement is finalized, it is signed by the parties, stamped with the tax authority, and deposited with the land registry. It is very important for the protection of the purchaser to deposit the sale agreement with the land registry and become the legal owner of the property. We then monitor the safe transfer of funds in Cyprus from external sources, which is a requirement in order to apply for Cypriot citizenship. We submit the application for the permit of the reduced VAT which is 5% on the first 200 square meters, and we ensure that the VAT refund is executed by the developer. The next step, once the investment in residential real estate is completed, is to finalize and submit the citizenship application. We undertake to provide guidance to the clients with regards to the preparation of the required documentation, of course. We then review the documents and we finalize the citizenship application on behalf of the clients. Once everything is completed, the citizenship application is submitted and we secure the confirmation of submission. We then submit the application for a residence permit, and the investor releases his biometric features. The biometric card is issued 5 working days after. The examination process finally begins. The documents relating to the business activities and the investment of the applicant in Cyprus are evaluated by the Ministry of Finance, and the rest of the conditions are examined by the Ministry of Interior. Provided that the investor meets the criteria and conditions of the scheme, the Minister of Interior presents the case to the Council of Ministers for the final decision. The approval of the citizenship application is issued by the Council of Ministers approximately 3 months after the submission of the application. And after the completion of the 6-month residency period, the certificate of naturalization is issued, and the investor travels to Cyprus or visit any Cyprus embassy for its signing and for giving the oath of faith to the Cypriot Republic before the registrar of court or the consular officer of the Republic. Finally, the naturalization procedure is completed, and the investor applies and gets the Cypriot passport and identity card. Okay, along with the investor, the family members of the investor may also obtain the Cypriot citizenship. These are the spouse, partner of the investor, minor dependent children up to the age of 18, and adult children, provided they are students up to the age of 28, who attend an institution of higher education aiming to obtain a diploma or an undergraduate or master degree, or children with severe physical or mental disability that prohibits employment. Also, the parents of the investor can apply, provided they are owners. It's just for the parents of the investor, there is an extra financial requirement to get the Cypriot citizenship, and because they need actually to be owners of a private residence of at least 500,000 plus VAT applicable, the possession of which should be retained for life. Also, they have the option to buy one property with the investor, the main applicant, of the value of 1 million. So 500,000 for the main applicant and 500,000 for the dependent parents, and they shall for life. Okay, here are the real estate tax incentives actually, which are also very important for the clients because there is no property tax. As I mentioned before, they are allowed to 5% reduced VAT policies for first property purchases, first to 200 square meters, and the standard rate is 19% in Cyprus. Also, no transfer fees for property transfers in case transaction is subject to VAT. If it's not subject to VAT, then 50%. There is 50% reduction of transfer fees for all transfers. There is also no inheritance tax, and the taxes, of course, are based on domicile and residence rather than citizenship. So by getting citizenship in Cyprus, to get the advantage, actually in Europe, for most of the clients, they are not obliged to pay any taxes Cyprus, just for their citizenship status. Here is how we can actually assist the interest of the applicant. Our job, of course, is to make sure that any involved risks will be minimized at the least possible. We have in-depth knowledge of the process and the relevant requirements, so that an investor and his family can easily purchase property in Cyprus and acquire Cypriot citizenship through investment in residential real estate. We guarantee that we will guide the investor through every step of the way to obtaining Cypriot citizenship and passport. And we consult and assist the investor to implement the investment in residential real estate. We provide in-depth examination of the circumstances of each case. We executed, as I mentioned before, the preliminary checks with the competent authorities in Cyprus, as we have a solid working relationship with them, and we monitor the follow-up progress for the citizenship. Okay, here are the documents needed to apply for Cypriot citizenship, which are basically besides the investment. The rest of the documents are very few, just copy of passport, birth certificate, duly certified, of course, police clearance, marriage certificate, and CV. The government fees are 2,000 for the submission of the application per adult, and 5,000 approval fee per adult again.
Okay, brilliant, Andrea. Thank you very much. Andrea, what are the fees then? I mean, you mentioned about the government fees, and what are the legal fees?
Legal fees depends on the family and actually on the investment that they're gonna make. If they're gonna purchase one unit, if it's gonna be multiple units on the work, normally it's 50,000 per family for citizenship applications. But it's always depending on the circumstances of the case, the clients. We take into consideration all of the facts of the case.
Yeah, and the residency. For if the clients would like to apply for residency, what are the fees? I mean, I understand.
Okay, for the residency is normally 30,000 fees, but again, as I mentioned before, depends on the family structure and the investment that they will make inside.
So the family of of 4 people, like let's say you have husband, wife, and children, 4 children, below 28.
Normally, yes, it's 30,000 for residency and 50,000 for citizenship for a family of 4.
I see. Okay. So, and in terms of the, we have some questions, Andrea. So if you can answer to this question. So obviously, Mr. Mahmoud is asking a question. Well, I think there was a fit and proper test, and he has the son, 19 years old. He's having autism. So does that affect? I mean, if one child has, say, autism disability, that does he need to provide a fit and proper test, or is that not required?
No, if there is a health issue with any of the children of the investor, they need to provide document actually from the doctor, like a certificate and more information about what is the health issue.
Sure. Okay, and another question is from Mr. Francis is about stable. I mean, as a resident, if he wants to proceed with residency program, Does he need to have a stable and regular income resources during that residency period? Um,
Can you clarify me, please? You mean during the examination period?
Should they have an income in Cyprus, or can that from overseas? I mean,
No, it
during
has
the
to be
residency.
from overseas. It has to be from overseas because in Cyprus, if they are applying for residency, they are not allowed to work in Cyprus.
So there was another question in terms of the work. Under the citizenship program, can they work? Under the residency program, is there a restriction to work?
Yes, yes. And under the residency program, they actually sign like a declaration that they will not undertake any employment in Cyprus. Of course, they have the right to own a business in Cyprus or set up a Cyprus company in Cyprus, but they are not allowed to work. But for citizenship, they can freely work, live, study in whole Europe.
Yeah, okay. So, and in terms of the work, like Cyprus, residency doesn't give the residents a work permit, but can they apply for the work permit and can they work in other European Union countries?
No, they cannot apply for the work permit because a separate permit actually. If they are going through this scheme for the getting an exceptional status of residency as investors in Cyprus, they are not allowed to work. There is, of course, another permit for people who just wish to work in Cyprus and not to. They will not go through the residency route for this.
Yeah. Okay. So, and another question I think you answered to this, you covered during this presentation is the question: is it a requirement that an applicant must live in Cyprus prior to or after citizenship being granted?
No, no, no.
Yeah,
there is no requirement for physical presence in Cyprus.
Basically, they can stay 7 days in a year, and that's the. Um,
for citizenship, there is no requirement at all, but of course they have to come for the biometric registration or, for example, to select the property, even though they can do this remotely. I mean, selecting a property. They have to come for biometric registration, and once the certificate of naturalization is issued, they should sign it at the court in Cyprus, so they normally arrange a trip. Otherwise, they can go in a Cyprus embassy anywhere. And after this, there is no requirement to visit Cyprus.
Okay, great. And are resale properties eligible for the real estate investment criteria? So basically, can they resell properties, and after what period?
So you are asking if they can resell the properties after some period?
Period. And what is the period? Like, for example, I think you mentioned in terms of the on the citizenship, you mentioned that they can sell after 3 years, and some part of like 1.5 million from 2 million euros investment they can sell.
Yes, for residency they need to keep the property for life, but for citizenship there is an exit strategy, as I mentioned before, 3 years after the naturalization date. So they sell, as I mentioned, 1.5 million out of the 2 million, let's say, and they keep half a million, a property of the value of half a million. And if, for example, they purchase at first place one residential unit of the value of 2 million, and after 3 years they need to keep the property of half a million, they can sell the 2 million property and buy another one of half a million, or they can do it from the beginning and buy one with which worth 1.5 and another one which worth half a million, and they keep the second one for life. It's up to them.
Yeah. Okay. And another question is Mr. Mahmoud is asking, will the Cyprus citizenship automatically grant me European citizenship?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because Cyprus is well, Mr. Mahmoud, as Andrew said, yes, it's automatically grants you European citizenship because Cyprus is a member of the European Union. Its citizens are automatically European citizens, which means you are allowed to live, work, or study anywhere in Europe. So another good point that comparing to other citizenship programs, you can join your whole family. You can include your parents because, for example, in UK you have the restrictions in terms of age. You know, the children below 18 years old can be your dependents, and parents, for example, are not allowed to be your dependents in the UK citizenship program. But in Cyprus, I think the good benefit is that you can bring your parents, you can bring your children above 18 years old, so that's also a great benefit. And you don't need to live in Cyprus. There's no requirement to be present or reside in Cyprus before or after approval of your citizenship application. Yes, you do need to require own real estate in Cyprus, as Andrew said. So that's one of the benefits because like real estate investment considered as low risk investments. I mean, comparing to other investment options, so it's easier another benefit. Okay, so I think there's another question has been raised. I mean, can I also bring my business to Cyprus? I think Mr. Emmanuel John is asking, can I also bring my business to Cyprus?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So that means that it means that they can set up a business or they can open the subsidiary of that business.
Yeah. Yes.
And Mr. Sanjit Kumar asked, you have mentioned £50,000 euros for citizenship for legal fees and €30,000 for the residency for family of four. And it's in euros. It's not in pounds. It's not in dollars. It's in euros. And let's hope that clarifies your question, Mr. Sanjit. So what about the residency? Can they rent the property? For example, Mr. Francis is asking, can I rent it out, the property for each year and still get the residency in Cyprus?
Actually, if they rent the property on the first 10 years, they lose the 5% VAT benefit. If the authorities discovered, because the properties, the applicants actually are benefited from the 5% in case it's their first property in Cyprus and they are using it for themselves, and that's why they are benefited from this tax incentive. So in case they discover that the property is rented out, they might ask from the owner, anyway, the main applicant, to return part of the amount for the years between 5 to 19% for the years that the property is rented out.
Okay, great. And another question, Ms. Mahmoud is asking whether there is an expiration date for the citizenship. Does it has any expiry date?
No, there is no expiration date. Once you get the passport, you take it for life, provided, of course, that you keep the property of $500,000 for life, which is a requirement. If you keep the property of $500,000, you also keep the passport.
Okay, great. Andrea, I think there's another question from Mr. Mohammed there. Where please advise whether I lose fully or partly invested money. So the question is, to advise, to clarify whether he loses fully the fully or partly invested money. But I'd like to answer to Mr. Mahmoud. You lose nothing here. After 3 years, minimum duration of investment, you can sell investment properties and go back or invested money back. So I think that also gives a quite attractive, because in terms of like Andrew said, you can resell your properties, but you need to keep after for 3 years. But after 3 years, you can do so, and so you can resell your investment. Andrea, you please correct if you would like to make some additions, if you know comments. But that's
Yes,
the answer, Mr. Mohammed.
nothing else.
So, okay, so I think basically that's all questions. Thanks very much for this question. And I think just the last question from Ms. Francis: how long does it take to get a citizenship passport? What is in the process? I mean, I believe you mentioned, so overall in time-wise, just if you can remind how what is the time scale? If, for example, client would like to process from our side, how long it takes to process and get that?
It's actually a very fast track procedure. So from the day the client comes to Cyprus, gets the property, and we finalize the contracts. They sign and they send the documents from the client's end, let's say. Then we can submit, let's say, a week after or less, and the approval is issued 3 months 3 months after the submission date. But because there is the residency requirement for 6 months, we have to wait another 3 months until the completion of the residency period, and then 6 months after they can get the passport.
Sure, sure. And I think, Andrea, thank you very much. But the last question, Ms. Mahmoud is asking, can you help me find suitable properties for citizenship investment in Cyprus?
Of course, we cooperate with almost all of the big developers in Cyprus. We have reviewed all the properties in Cyprus. We have associates in every town. So depending on the needs of the client, we can offer properties in hills near the sea, in the city centers, whatever they are interested. And also another important point to be mentioned, because I don't remember if I mentioned it before. Some clients have concerns because they need to actually invest the 2 million in advance, and then they make the application for citizenship. And they, even though there is no rejection, a lot of rejections, almost all of the applications are successful, and especially if the client provides all the documents, it will be 100% successful. But in order for them to feel, for their peace of their mind anyway, we made agreements with all of the developers that we cooperate, and they need to refund the money to the investor in the rare scenario that the citizenship application will be rejected for a reason. So this is very important for the clients, that they actually can get their money back if something happens. And also because there is a requirement that the full amount of 2 million has to be paid, let's say, to the developer in order to give us the receipt of payment, and then we include that with the rest of the documents, and we apply in the government. But we agreed with all the developers that we cooperate that the funds will transfer to a secure account as soon as they issue the receipt of payment. And then we normally sign a supplementary agreement, which includes the stages of the release of funds according to the completion of the project. If anything else is pending, let's say, from the developer side. So for the safety of the client, we have this kind of agreements with a lot of developers in Cyprus.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that explanation, Andrea. In terms of, I would like to also add here, or for Ms. Mahmoud's question, can you help me find suitable properties for citizenship investment in Cyprus? Yes, I mean, with our partners in Cyprus, as Andrea said, we have quite large database of developers we work with 18 developers in Cyprus, and we would be happy to help you find your ideal residential and or commercial property. Our professional relationships and local presence in Cyprus guarantee to our clients a smooth, comprehensive service that includes identifying suitable properties, providing transport for property viewings, drafting, reviewing legal contracts, and or liaising with local experts until you get your passport. So that's I just wanted to add to Andrea's points from my side as well. So, I would like to, at this stage, conclude and say thank you very much for attending our webinar today. And I thank you very much, Andrea, for your contribution for this detailed and fantastic explanation about the steps and how we can help on the residency or citizenship. So thank you very much for being our guest today, and I'd like to thank audience for joining our webinars, for being so attending our webinar today, and I hope you received the valuable information during the webinar. So register your interest. This is actually the link for if you'd like to receive detailed information on the costs structure or further information about this program. Please register your interest on the visatier.co.uk. Get offer Cyprus, and we will contact you. Our address, this is again, if you are in London, please let me know. I'm more than happy to meet you in our London office. And if you are meeting Andrea, the office address is representative office address is also shown on the slide. So once again, thanks for joining our webinar today. I hope you received valuable information. And if you'd like to get more detailed information about the cost structure and the step-by-step, please send an email or contact us, and we'll register in the following the link below, and we'll contact you and explain. I'm more than happy to explain. Andrea, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And speak to you soon then. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.